Should we wait for a minute or two and then start, right, ma'am?
Yeah.
We can start in 2, all right?
Okay. Should we start?
Yes, I'm game.
So, a very good evening to everyone present here to attend this webinar. On behalf of Curious for Law, I render a very warm welcome to you all. Thank you for joining us. Today, we are going to discuss on the topic Career in Judiciary, Practice and Scope. I am Anmol Jain and I will be moderating the session today. So, today, I'm most delighted to introduce to you our guest speaker, Ms Akagrata Singh, Additional Session Judge, District and Session Court, Allahabad. Ma'am has excelled in the UP Judiciary Services Exam 2018 with rank 4. Ma'am, thank you so much for joining with us today. I extend heartiest welcome to you on behalf of Curious for Law.
Thank you.
So, thank you. Welcome, ma'am. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much.
So,
sorry.
So, starting with the layout of the session, this session will be dealing with ma'am's journey to become a judge, her preparation strategy, and tips for acing one of the most difficult competitive exams, that is judiciary exam, and what it takes to be a judge. We will also be taking her. We'll also be talking about her experience as a judge so far and what challenges does she face in a court on a day-to-day basis. So, before we kickstart the webinar, I would like to make the housekeeping rules clear to all the participants. That is, please place your question in the chat. Name will be taken up from there in the Q&A session. Also, I please request everyone to keep their microphone on silent to maintain the decorum of the webinar. The link to the e-certificates will also be shared in the chat box at the end of the session. So let's begin with this webinar.
Thank you, Anu.
Ma'am, welcome, ma'am. Ma'am, could you...
Is it? I'm audible now. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm also audible, right?
Yes.
Ma'am, kudos to your unmatchable achievement. Kindly accept heartiest felicitations on behalf of our team and viewers. Could you please and take us through your journey from law school to becoming a judge?
First of all, thank you, Curious for Law, for giving me this opportunity to speak with you all today. And I will try my level best to do justice to this. So my name is Akagrata Singh. I graduated in 2016. And right after my graduation, I decided to pursue judiciary as my career option. So I gave my first attempt in 2016 itself, and I am from UP. So basically my aim was to crack UP judiciary. That was my aim. So in 16, I didn't get through. And again, the paper was announced in 2018. So then I appeared for it and finally I made it to the list. So this, as Anmol was saying that she would be asking me a lot of questions, and in those questions, I will walk you through my entire journey. So basically it took almost 2 years for me to crack this paper, and there were various ifs and buts, and there were various do's and don'ts. So through this platform, I just want to make it a point to students, if they are all here, like if all the students that are here, if they are here like for third year, fourth year, for what all they can do and what all they shouldn't do in this journey, so that they can reach to their goal as soon as possible. So yes, Anmol, can we go with the questions now?
Thank you so much, ma'am. So, ma'am, shall we start with the first question?
The voice is cracking. Yes, I can hear you. Yeah, right.
Ma'am, choosing to offer judicial services is naturally a difficult decision to make. So, what led you to choose judicial services? As a factors do you think a law student should keep in mind before opting for such profession?
Yeah. Okay, so like all of us are we all are very influenced by our backgrounds and societies. So when I started my journey in law, that's in 2011 when I entered Symbiosis, somewhere in the back of my mind, I was quite clear that I would be entering government setup because I come from that kind of a background. But then again, in this course of 5 years, I did opt to go for various internships, be it litigation, be it corporate firms, NGOs, etc., just to try my hand. But nothing worked for me. Like I didn't enjoy any place. So I kept on interning, and then eventually by the end of third year and fourth year, I had made up my mind that this is something I want to pursue. And I always had interest in law. I used to enjoy reading law, and that is why judiciary came as like the most viable option. So that was one of my reason. I think the major reason I chose to go for this profession. Secondly, when you asked the what are the points law students should keep in mind, see again, like I'm going to say that I think since past 10 to 12 years, legal industry has, especially law as a career has taken a boom. After 5 years course has been introduced, I think almost 50% of students after class 12 they are signing up for law. So you have various fields. Yeah, the opportunities in this field is endless. They are endless. So in order for a student to understand what field they want to be in, the self analysis is very important. Like I always say that if you are opting for any career, like be it judiciary, be it litigation, be it a corporate firm culture, you just have to question yourself, like where do you want to see yourself in like 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, accordingly, because we all enter law schools with a certain image, with a certain certain thing in our head, and then we meet few people, we have certain experiences, and our interests change. So you have to be very open to everything, and keep questioning yourself that is it what you want, because often we are too attached or we are too fascinated by the goal, but we don't speak about the journey. So if somebody is planning to appear for judicial services or want to pursue their career in judiciary, they have to be very clear, are they okay with the journey? Are they ready to sign up for the life? It's of course it gets you a lot of respect, recognition, it gives you a lot of responsibilities. That is one part of it, but there are other parts to it also. So while you are in your law school, give yourself that kind of time. Try and interact with a lot of students who've recently cracked or who have cracked it, like if in like in who are a little senior to you, or just do some judicial internships, just see if you fit in there, and then decide that is it what you really want to do. This is my opinion.
That's a very good point, ma'am, you raised, because self-analysis is really important, and that's something which we sort of get confused in law school, and there's so many things that that doors are open for us, so it's very difficult to decide one thing. So we should self-analyze and decide, and by exploring all the options. Thank you, ma'am. So, ma'am, in respect of the law school journey, so what role did the law school played in nurturing your zeal to go for judiciary? Could you please throw some light on your experience at law school? Also, concentrating on what aspects of the law school in terms of curriculars and extracurriculars activities such as moot courts, debates, do you feel helped the most in process of securing a position in your judiciary exam?
Okay. Uh, all of us would agree, law school is going to be the best part of any student. So when I talk about my law school, we were privileged to be the second batch. Like our college had just started, so we had this immense opportunity to do everything and anything. So be it moot courts, be it fest, be it anything, we were always allowed to participate. And we don't realize it back then, like from participating in a moot to organizing a fest, everything is shaping you, because from doing each and everything, you're acquiring the skill. Somewhere you acquire administrative skill, somewhere you acquire managing skill, somewhere you acquire analytical skill. So it's like a mixture of everything. So when I was in my law school, I tried to do everything. whatever opportunity I got, howsoever, I tried to participate in every competition, whatever suited me the best at that time. And I think that only helped me learn more. I met a lot of people, and there was this, we had this group, and all of I have been in touch with most of them till now. Some of them opted for these services. So there was this very good, healthy background, healthy circle which was created. That is how it benefited me. So for the second part of the question, which you said, that how one can benefit from law school, like what all you can acquire. Again, see, I am going to say it's going to be, your law school has to be a balance of both curricular and extracurricular. I'm not here saying that you have to be that first bencher student and you have to learn everything. No, I'm not of that opinion, because I wasn't that student back then. I'm just saying law school is the only time when this is the only time which you get to read your books through and through, be it your Takwani, Kelkar, etc., anything. You join the profession, be it any profession, you will not get to learn, you will not get to read that book. So this is the best time to work on your basics without burdening yourself with this thing that what will happen and how it will happen. You will always get propositions to work on, you will get certain things to work on. And if you're a student like me who started preparing after graduation, then you would be in a hurry to complete the syllabus. So you do it in your class, you do it with your peer, you do it by yourself, but make sure that certain things which are core of law, be it your procedure subjects, be it your constitutional subject, try and read them. Try and read them and be clear with the basics. And just get into the habit of reading any which ways. And I'm not only talking about law. Just make yourself aware, because these 5 years are very important to shape your personality. And whatever path you take, you may start preparing for judiciary. Things may not work out, and you may switch to another profession. Something might happen. So all these 5 years, whatever skills you are acquiring, it's going to help you. So, and it should not only be about curriculars, it's also about extracurriculars. Like I said, you will not realize how one thing is benefiting the other. We all had this thing in mind, that if I am doing my coaching, then I shouldn't do this. Where is the balance? I will lose on to time here, but that doesn't count. You are there for your 5 years, and few things don't happen post law school. So if any one of you are from, if you're anyone from law schools, please participate in each and everything, and it is only going to benefit you. It's not only about that competition. Once you read that mood problem and you analyze and you make issues, it only develops your thinking level. You get engrossed, and you know how to work in teams. So it has to be balance of both. So make good use of that time while you're in your school, while you're in your college.
Indeed, ma'am, that's a very good point. So you basically said that the whole journey in the law school matters, and what experience you gain in the journey is something which shapes you as a person that you become after that law school. Thank you so much. So, ma'am, I've switched off my video because that way it's more clear, and the conversation is more clear. So, ma'am, can we just start with addressing about your preparation and how did you started preparing with your judicial services exam, and what according to you, ma'am, is the ideal time for any law student to start preparation for judiciary? And in your opinion, ma'am, how much time does it take for any student to complete the preparation? As in, like, if I start in my 4th year or 5th year, so what is the ideal time that anyone who is a law student should start preparing, or anyone who's even graduated? How much time for that person also it takes, like an average time in your experience, to complete the preparation and be ready to appear for exams?
Okay. So now you've asked me 3 questions in 1 question. So I'm going to answer them one by one. First, I started my preparation, like proper preparation, post my college ended. Like 2016 June, I graduated, and then was the time I started preparation. Like I said, I graduated in 16, and we are sitting in 20, so it's almost 4 years. So by my experience, I will say it's not advisable to do that, because I'll let you know why. Because when I started my preparation in 16, so there was this whole shift from a college to a competitive circle. So it took me almost, I think, 2-3 months to to adjust myself in that circumstances, because college life was different and preparation was different. And that, like I said, now your peers, everything affects you a lot. So you will have your friends going into different professions, different circles of practice. Somebody will go for LLM, and then you will have to lock yourself in that room and sit with those books. So I took a lot of time to adjust to that, and that is why I said that in 2016 I gave my attempt, and it was a horrible attempt. That's why I didn't get through. So, and then I prepared. These are state level exams, and they are not very regular. So when we had a notification in 16, and then we had a notification in 18, so there was a 2-year gap. I did pursue my LLM and all, but I'm just suggesting. And like in my batch, I am quite happy to see that there are people who've just graduated in 2018. Then they appeared for their paper in December, and they graduated within 6 months. They appeared and they cleared it. So that has also happened. So while you ask me, what is an ideal time to prepare? See, there are two type of students. There are few people who are like crystal clear in their after third year or fourth year that this is what they want to do, and they work towards it. And there are few people who want to take certain experience, and maybe after 1 or 2 years of job, they feel that they want to come into this. So you have to identify what group you fall in. If you're in the first group, the sooner you realize, the better it is. Like I said, these vacancies are not very regular. And if you're a very state specific person, like if you want to, somebody from Rajasthan and they really want to go to Rajasthan or UP whatsoever, then it might happen that you've graduated in 19 and the paper might happen in 20, or the paper might happen in 19 itself. So this is one shortcoming of this examination. So you have to be prepared. So if you have made up your mind, so why not put in that kind of an effort, so that the first opportunity you get through that, and you save yourself from that whole pain of waiting and studying. Secondly, I'm not saying it's not possible for people who realize it later. Of course, the amount of hard work and everything is more, and the patience is more, but of course it happens. So the sooner you realize, the better it is. But if at all you realize it soon, that's more good, because the competition and the awareness in kids today is just too high. So that is my point. And one more thing you asked, Anmol, what was it? I'm sorry, I missed it.
I asked basically how much time did it took you to complete your preparation once you know that I want to go for judiciary and I start my preparation. So on an average, for any student who starts his preparation now, so like what is the time span that it takes for a person to be prepared with judicial services examination course and to be eligible to give examination when it comes May?
Yeah, again, it's a very subjective question. Again, I can give you a lot of examples. If you enroll into any coachings or something, they will give you a proper 1-year course. And then there are people who are like, I will give myself 1 year and I'll be through. And then you might be into the preparation, and out of nowhere a notification announced, and there will always be students who will speed up their preparation, and within 6 months they will crack it. So again, it's a very subjective thing. And those people, they put in like 17, 18 hours a day. I know a lot of them, and then they do it because they think they're not confident when the next opportunity comes. So it's a very subjective thing, depends on you. And some people, they are very clear with the basics in their law school itself. Like for me, I had to reread everything again after my law school, all the CPC, CRPC and every book. So I took a lot of time. But then that is what I was suggesting. Like if you are done with your basics well in advance, then you can do it in like short time also. Depends how much you are willing to give. And it's a very person to person thing also. So let's...
So basically, how much time that anyone will take depends upon when it starts and how much time the person gives in the preparation. So it's a very subjective kind of a thing.
That's what I was telling you. I know people who've done it in 6 months also, 1 year also, and everyone has a story behind it. Like something or the other happens.
Ma'am, that is true.
Yeah, that's there.
So moving into the details of your preparation, ma'am. So like there are so many viewers here who are preparing for judiciary, and they really want to know that the strategy that you adopted to ace all the 3 stages of examination. So ma'am, can you please elaborate the stage-wise strategy? Like there are 3 stages: preliminary, mains and interview. So can you please elaborate upon the strategy which is used by you to ace the examination in each stages, or is it anything special that is needed, or something that worked for you and you want to share it with us? Thank you, ma'am.
So before I speak of any strategy, there are 3 rules which I think every aspirant should remember. One, you are not here to do PhD. You're here to crack a paper, and that needs knowledge plus strategy. So don't get too attached and start doing everything. You reading everything and you this whole quest of knowing everything about the subject. You will get ample amount of time later. You can do that. Second, less is always better, because there are so many wonderful books available in the market, and you will always feel that something in that book is fine, something in other book is fine. So it's not. You stick to one source, whatever source you find the best. And third, revision is the key. There is no set number that 4 times, 5 times will work for you. As and how many times you revise, it's only going to benefit you. So coming down to the levels, there are 3 levels: pre, mains, and interview. You have to understand pre is just a qualifying stage. So even if you like clearing it on like with the on the margin or with a huge margin, that does not make a difference. You have to qualify the pre. Secondly, it's mains. Mains decides your selection. The kind of answers you write, they are very important. So mains is the main key. It decides your selection. And when you come to the interview, in my opinion, it decides your rank. Because there are so many students who are excellent in writing, but something or the other happens, and you can't judge an interview as well. That there is not a set criteria. Somebody might get 70, somebody might get 60, and they must have performed excellent in their mains. But the rank will matter. So it's basically mains and interview is the most important stage. Pre, of course, is an important thing because that gives you an entry to that. But then it's a qualifying thing. So you have to be very strategic while you're preparing. See, like every state. So it's a state-based paper, and every state has their own syllabus. But there are few fundamental subjects which are same in every subject in every state. They are your procedure like CPC, CRPC, IPC, evidence, constitution, contracts. These 6 subjects are something which you're going to find in every state, like maximum of them. So you have to master them for all the 3 stages. And by mastering them, I don't mean that you have to learn them or mug them up, because it's not humanly possible. So what I used to do when you talk about pre, it's basically about bare act. From that comma to that amendment to that 1 year, everything is important. And if you sit with that bare act thinking that you're going to learn everything, it's not going to happen. So you have to devise your own strategy, how well you do it. What I did, I used to divide my bare act into various parts, like 1 to 150, 150 to 300, depending on the sections. And when I was preparing, I was lucky enough to have like few very good friends, and we all used to prepare together. So there used to be a very good question answer round. So when it comes to pre, it's like we used to prepare like 1 to 150 section, and the other person would question you, and then that is how you learn the bare act. Or you might just close the bare act and write the bullet points by yourself. So that is how you memorize it, and you have to do it again and again. It's not like a one-time procedure. So this was for pre. So when I come to mains is answer writing practice. So whatever state you're focusing on, basically you have to study the past year papers, see the kind of questions which are being asked, see the trend keeps on changing, but then you will get the major portions. That it's UP, so they ask res judicata a lot, they ask certain case analysis a lot. If it's Delhi, they have this whole length of case analysis. So just study the pattern, like give good time studying the pattern of the paper, and you're already through with your bare acts. I did my coaching. So I joined a coaching. So for me, my basic, when I was preparing, my core preparation thing was my notes. So I did not read a lot of course books. So whatever thing, I'm not saying that coachings are important, even if you're doing self-study. So those notes and howsoever you integrate it, it's important when you're preparing for mains that you practice answer writing. Try and practice the previous year questions or whatever is in trend, some new amendment is having, try and summarize that. As how much you practice the answer, that is going to make all the difference. So once you're through that and you reach the interview stage, then you can join any 1 or 2 mock interview sessions. It will just give you more confidence and give you an insight of how it happens. And just remember, like if you're through mains, your knowledge has been tested. Now they want to test your personality. So there is this whole air about interview and people really get scared. It's not about that. So just be calm, and that's how you crack 3 stages, hopefully.
Yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, regarding the preliminary stage, you said that you have to understand the barrack and you divided, you basically cultivated your own strategy by dividing the barrack and then trying to learn section wise so that it becomes easy for you. So, ma'am, many students face this problem that they don't understand the language of barrack. So, is there any proper way to understand the language of barrack or to remember the sections, because it's like the syllabus is huge and there are so many acts we need to learn and there are so many sections we need to cram, so it gets very difficult, to retain it all. So do you have any like a memory trick, something which you used and worked for you, or something of that sort that helped in understanding and retaining the barrack for all the 3 stages?
Yeah. See, like I said, you divide the bear act. What I used to do, it's like a story. Like one of my friend only suggested it, that your bear act is a story and you have to feel it. You have to see it through that. And it's very logical. Like just remove the legalities from it. It's very logical that, arrest hua hai, then there will be someone, then there'll be warrant, and then there'll be procedure. So then police will come, then magistrate will come. So there is this whole arc. So once you read it, you first read the first round of Barak and don't read like I have to memorize it right now only. No. First see what's happening. How are the chapters divided? And every chapter is like a complete incomplete in itself. So every chapter is a story and one chapter is linked to another chapter. So try and visualize it that way. So this whole, if you sit with a Barak thinking that this is something I want to just now, I will give 5 days to it and I'm going to learn the entire CRPC, it's not going to happen. Because you have to make a thread of it. And then while you said how to understand legal language of it, like I said, I joined my coaching. So that way I benefited from there, because there are things, they say something, they mean something, and one section is connected to 3 other sections and might some another section in some another barrack. So if you're not going to any coaching, then you have to refer to your course books. So if you're reading if you're reading arrest from CRPC, then try and read that chapter from your course book. It's going to take some time, but while you're reading a commentary, they are doing your work. They will be linking them to everything. They will be linking the arrest sections with constitution also. So the first and second reading has to be about what it is about. Like you have to create an image of it. When that image is set in your mind, then you just then you can just maybe close the book and write it in your own words. Don't go by the legal language. It's not about, you don't have to reproduce the same language, but then in your own words, try and make the flow of it. And I'm hopeful that you get it. And like I said, like revision is the key. So if I'm saying, if you are through with your CRPC and you're starting your evidence like from 7th day or something, then make sure that while you're doing your evidence, you're revising your CRPC. Because law as a subject is such that if we are not in touch with law, all of us are going to forget it, because it has such technicalities and it has those number of days that you have to file in that day and not file in that day. And then you can always do chart things. Like while I used to do, when I read my IPC, I had this whole IPC in A4 size papers, like the offense, the section, the punishment. So it was divided like that. So when you do procedure, then you can divide it by chapter wise. Like if you're doing CPC, the commission. So if I'm reading about commission, then commission ke sections ke baad I will read the order. So you have certain things prepared. So your notes should be like what I did. My notes were like for 10 days before the exam, 7 days before the exam, and 1 day before the exam. Because if tomorrow you have the paper, it's practically impossible for you to revise entire 10, 12 barracks. It's not possible. So I used A4 size papers. My entire CPC, CRPC was in those points, like the points which I would be able to understand. And if there are certain things, 30 days, 60 days, which you have to learn, then highlight it, circle it. And every day, if you are if you have seen that A4 size paper for, I don't know, 12, 13 times in a span of 7 months, you will have a memory. Sometimes visual memory, sometimes some other kind of memory, it's going to strike you in that paper. So this is the whole process. And once you start practicing MCQs and everything, you exactly get to know what are the areas they ask questions. And again, I said it's a qualifying paper. So you have to get those number of questions right. So
Yes,
just be at the safe zone. If it's like, agar there is this trend of 70 marks as a cutoff, try aim for 90, 95. That's okay. You don't have to master it. Nobody
yes,
can master everything.
indeed. That
That's
was
it.
a very amazing strategy. Like we all used to work so hard in cramming the barack, and the thing which you just said of learning it in a story way and linking it so that it becomes easier for all the three stages. Thank you, ma'am. That's really amazing strategy that you cultivated on your own. So that helped you.
Friend
So,
help
ma'am,
me.
in some states there are in some states, a very huge focus is upon GK as well as the language part. And for many of us who are who studied in English background or who are from Hindi background, the opposite language becomes like a huge crisis because we haven't practiced Hindi after, like, I am from English background, so I haven't practiced Hindi after 10th class. So like to start from, like, to write an essay in Hindi of 50 marks, it's like a very big deal for me. So how you incorporate the language thing in your daily routine so that when the time comes, it's a strength for you, not a weakness for you.
Yeah. See, I'm still suffering from that problem. I'm not very good with Hindi either. And trust me, you should work on it because it's giving me nightmares. Once you get those files, it's all in Hindi. And you just have cold feet. You don't know what to do. And through this medium, I would want to assert this fact that language is very important.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
by language, I only don't mean English. The other language is also very important. Hindi, I am talking about Hindi because I am from a Hindi speaking state and my target was a Hindi speaking state. Some of you might be from Maharashtra, Bengal. So the other language is very important. It's not only about cracking the paper. It is a personality booster as well. Like a person who speaks a fluent Hindi and a fluent English is always good. So there is this whole culture of mixing two languages is not proper. And you should try and from day one only you should try and work on this, because when you are sitting with your seniors, it does not come across a very good habit and they are not liking it. So if I can talk about Hindi, so when my notification had come for 2018, I was any which ways in a habit of reading newspaper. When UP was announced, I started reading editorials of Dainik Jagran, because even I had this problem that all my spellings were a problem. All my spellings were always wrong. There was this whole matra ka thing which I never got right. So basically, you read that one editorial and try and write it in your own words and get it corrected by somebody who's better at it. Just do it. This is the whole practice, and sometimes you will get your notebook which is all red, but then eventually if you're doing it, I used to do it like twice in a week. So if you have not enough amount of time, please do thrice in a week. I had divided twice in a week. I used to do translation from English to Hindi, Hindi to English, and I used to translate all the editorials and write it in my own words. And the other 2 days, I used to practice essays. Like in a lot of states, they have essay writing in Hindi as well, and then they have legal essay writing. So your command on Hindi has to be very strong. So that is why I'm suggesting. And if you have this legal Hindi essay thing, then you have this whole dictionary. And there are certain words that you need to know. So it will not come in a day. It will not come in a month. It's a habit. It's a process. And if you are aspiring to be a judicial officer, then you should know all the district courts. They work in local languages. So even if you are terrific in English, it's not taking you anywhere. So you need to know the words and you need to be in a habit to read it fast as well. So better late than never. Like as soon as possible, you can start it from today and get it in a habit of doing it till the time you ace it. So language is very important. Secondly, when you speak about GK, see, that's what I suggested. I was in a habit of reading newspaper. So GK was not a very big problem for me. But there are few states like Bihar and Delhi also. They have very unpredictable pattern of asking GK. They ask anything from anywhere. It's not only related to current. So again, I'm saying, and it's basically in the pre-paper. You have to be very calm that if you don't know it, then 70% people also don't know it. So you can't. GK is also something you can't read everything. You can have a basic idea, you can be in touch of what is happening around the world. That's why I'm saying read a newspaper, then follow some magazine. There are few people who used to read Pratyogita Darpan and all. I didn't read it, so I don't know if I have to advise it or not. So but I was like constantly reading newspapers, so it was important. So it was very easy for me. And for if you're targeting those states like Bihar and other thing or MP, then you can read this Lucent book, because judicial papers, the GS they ask is not very intense, so it's you don't have to like get into every detail of it. So Lucent mein you can read the history section, and then there's a computer section, there's a science section that sorts for you. And while you're appearing for UP, you will have this whole paper again for just GK, but it's a mixture of both history and current, and then there are certain general things. So if you're generally in touch with things, you will know how to answer it. And again, nobody knows it all, so you're not supposed to get 10 on 10. So even if you're getting like 6 on 10, it's fine. So that was the thing.
Thank you, ma'am. So basically, you said that language is something which has to be built as a part of your routine. You can't just master it in a day. So it should be everyday practice is required in language as well as GK, because one habit of reading newspaper and reading the editorial of Hindi newspaper can bring a huge change in your preparation process. So, ma'am, moving on to the mains part, means answer writing part. So, like, what pattern like you adopted in your mains preparation, mains examination answer writing? Like, is there a specific way to answer the question, or like there are some people who suggest like you introduce first and then content on something? Like, what method is adopted, like is the ideal method for answering the question in mains examination?
Okay, so I don't know what the ideal method. I can tell you about my method. So there may be two types of questions. One can be purely theoretical, and another can be practical. So while I was answering practical, I used my moot court technique of following IRAC method, like issue, reason, analysis, and conclusion. So whatever problem they had, I used to address them in this format. And while I'm addressing, because if they're asking you some practical problem, either most of the time, I'm not going to say all the time, most of the time, either it will be connected to some landmark judgment or some recent judgment. And if you are an aspirant, you will know about them. Even if you're not reading the whole judgment, all of us just take out the gist of all the coaching institutes and we read. So you will know it. So while you're answering them, I used a lot of, not everywhere, but wherever it was possible, I used to draw flowcharts. Then I used to quote a lot of jurists and some law commission reports. So that was something I have done in most of my answers in mains. And while I was answering a theoretical paper, see again, like we were if you study all the previous year paper, a question as simple as res geste or res judicata you in like a 5 year, in a 5 marker, 10 marker, then a 15 marker. So while you're preparing, you have to prepare it in a totality. If something is asked for 5 marks, you can't like write all the recent judgments or all the landmark. It's not needed. You can only describe what it is, what section it deals with, maybe an example or so, and end it. But if it is if it's like a 20 marker, then you can go to the history of it, like how it all came down to one, how it came down. Is there some some honorable justice has said something about it? There are some law commission reports about it, or and like I said, like if you're in a habit of reading newspaper, then you never know. There are some beautiful articles coming every time, like most of the time on law. So something from the writer's perspective, and you just mix everything and you make your answer. Like when we gave our mains, all these things were so much in news of right to privacy, Puttaswamy judgment, this Sabrimala, everything was so much in news that there was no specific question on it. But all our honorable justice judges have had said so many things that I quoted a lot of them in my answers. So that is why I'm saying there is not a set pattern of it. You have to be very, very well aware. And all these, see, law is what? Anybody who's taking coaching or is preparing themselves, they are reading the Bare Act, they are reading the textbook or the notes. So the basic material is same with everybody. It's the structuring of the answer, like how well you present yourself. Even if you know everything and you're not able to write it in like few words, even if it's like a 5 marker question and you're not able to express yourself in those 10 lines, then it's of no use. That is why I'm saying that your command over a subject has to be that strong that you exactly know what to write and how to write. And of course, like while I was preparing, I did a lot of tests. I used to practice my answers like anything, and I used to practice them in the same manner, like the kind of sheets we used to get. I used to time myself that, you know, if I can write a 3 hour paper, because we had 2 papers in one day, so it's like a 6 hour shift. So sometimes you don't get the time even to change the pen, because there's so much of time, so much of time is going in that. So you have to practice all this, and once you're through with your syllabus, join some test series, practice them, and it will come to you. Just keep collecting all the material you can so that you make your answers better.
Thank you, ma'am. That's very, very helpful. So the one habit that we all aspirants need to develop is of reading newspaper, because that's, in your opinion, helps a lot both in mains as well as in pre-examination. So all those who are preparing should start reading newspaper, and especially the editorial part very regularly.
Suggesting that you read the entire newspaper, like capital news, political news. No, you should know what to read in a newspaper.
Yes, ma'am.
Because that's what I'm saying now, that the extra element is only going to come from newspaper and some recent judgment also. Like I used to read all these, you know, you have such wonderful portals these days where people are uploading all these articles, like somebody's already doing the hard work. You don't have to sit and do the research. So just be in a habit, like once you get exhausted, be in a habit of reading these articles from Bar and Bench or Live Law. Just take them out and just see what there is some every writer has a perspective. Try and get in there, extract what you want. Not everything is important. Make a note of it. That's what I'm saying. When the papers are announced, you will not get time to collect all these materials. Maybe have separate notebooks, keep them, keep adding them, and keep going through them. As and when the question will come in front of you, you will exactly know what to put where and how to answer what.
Yes, ma'am, that is very, very important. So, ma'am, moving on to like what sources you referred, like there are so many subjects which are important, and there are multiple sources which are available. So it gets confusing for us, like to stick to one source, which is the core source of every subject. So, can you please elaborate upon what sources or what specific books or notes you referred while preparing, which helped you in acing the examination?
Yeah, like I said, I had joined a coaching and I swear by Rahul sir. So what my core subject notes were his notes. So I did
Okay.
not read all the textbooks. Whatever subjects he taught, I used to read them through and through from his notes. Contracts, when I was in coaching, there was again another sir, Shivasa sir. So whatever notes I got from my coaching, I used to study from that. But people who are not taking coaching, I know a lot of my friends who haven't studied in a coaching, they used to study. They have mixed sources. Like they used to come there are certain topics like confession and admission. It's a huge topic. It's an important topic. So then they used to refer their books, and then they used to supplement it with AK Jain's guide. They have this guide of every subject. So again, if you have less time, and because reading a takwani again will take 20 days of your time, 20 days. And if you have that luxury of giving that kind of time, then nothing like it. You should go ahead and do it. But if you don't have that kind of time and you have your exams in like 2 months, 3 months, then the smart way of studying is to get those AKJN, and integrate them. Read them. I'm not saying like everything is important and everything from there only will only do. But then you have to take out topics and see what all topics are important. Then you can refer to those core books and integrate and make your notes and then go about it.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. So, ma'am, moving on to like a routine, building a routine and habit of studying for this particular hours and allocating this much time on these subjects or for law or for GK is very important. So, can you please, ma'am, share with us your routine that followed during preparation, and what aspects of your routine were most helpful for you?
Okay. See, I would be lying if I'll say that I studied every day of my preparation. I didn't.
Yes, ma'am.
So So that's not possible. But when you talk about routine, yes, a routine is important. I'm not going to deny that. There are few things. See, I'm not going to say that these many hours you have to give, because I don't understand that concept of, I couldn't give those kind of hours every day. It's not about giving 10 to 12 hours 3 days and then 3 days lying exactly flat. It's not going to help you. It's about the consistent effort. Even if you are giving those 5 hours or maybe 4 hours every day, like properly, like with full concentration for like 365 days, that's going to give you more benefit. So this whole art of competitive examination, it's of patience and consistency. So your routine has to include, and when you speak about routine, it has to include a mixture of all the things. Like I said, you have to identify, like if somebody is from Hindi background, then their Hindi is automatically strong. Then they have to work on the English. So, and if some, and vice versa, English has to work on Hindi. And you exactly know what areas you lack in. If you're pathetic at it, so you have to give it more time. So these are certain things. And if you're good at essay, like few people, the essay writing comes naturally to them. So if you're not that person, then you have to give extra time. So first sit with your syllabus. Like I will say, give a day or something to your syllabus. See what are the syllabus, what are the subjects. There will be, even if you haven't studied in your law school, there will be few subjects which you're naturally interested in, be it evidence, be it contract, something you will interest you. See what all is your strength, what all is your weakness, and then decide that what amount of time you want to give. Like for me, CPC was not good, so I used to give maximum time to CPC because I knew that I had to work a lot in that subject. But then there are certain subjects which you will enjoy, so it might take 10 days for me but might take 5 days for you. So you devise your own plan according to that. Make sure, and don't do that like I don't know, there are people who say that study for 5 days, take rest for 6 7 another 2 days. I was not that person. Make sure you're doing something. I'm not saying that every day you have to take 10 steps forward. Even it's like baby steps. If you take one step every day, it's going to lead you. And you should get into habit of reading your law. You should be in the habit of that that competitive service examination. Acha, you have to make up your mind. You have to sit yourself. You have to make yourself sit at that particular time and do. And one two things which worked for me while the papers were approaching, like earlier I used to study at night, late at nights. So these are because I had somebody who had attempted papers earlier and had failed. There were certain things I realized. So I used to study at night and exams used to happen in the morning. So my brain was naturally in the habit of sleeping in the morning. So sometimes when I came back with those question papers, I used to question myself, how couldn't I get this right? So then I changed my entire schedule. Like if the papers are happening from 9 to 12 or 10 to 2, whatever the time is, I used to make sure that at that time I'm studying. No matter I'm not studying in any, and at any amount in the entire day, but in that particular time I will study. So these are certain things you train yourself. And while you're studying, we all lock ourselves in a room, so there is a comfortable environment, you know your table, you know your chair. So just while you're practicing those questions, try and change, go to another room, practice, because all these psychological things also affect, at least they affected me, that is why I'm suggesting. So these are certain things, just hit and try. And even if you're not doing coaching, just try and join some coaching for test series. So you just get into a routine and you have this, sometimes when we see competition around ourselves, it affects us. Try and have a healthy circle people who are studying, so that you can keep a check on it. So I cannot say that there has to be daily routine and everything has to be this proper. Identify your own weakness and strengths and accordingly distribute your time. That's my suggestion.
Okay, ma'am. Very well said. Because routine is something which will depend upon our own strengths and weaknesses, and where we need to really work upon. So it's like something which we need to figure out on the basis of the syllabus of our target state. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. So, ma'am, in the present time, we see that distractions and failures being the indispensable weeds in the preparation process. So So it gets very challenging to stick to a routine and be consistent with our preparation. Can you please, ma'am, share with us some strategies and tips to stay focused and keep on working towards our goal, and even in such time? Because in the present time situation is such that you never know when the exams are going to come and things are very uncertain right now. So how do we keep on going even in such times? Please, ma'am, really give some tips or some opinion on that.
Yeah. See, these are very uncertain times, and none of us imagine that something like this could happen. And if something like this happens in front of you, and pandemic is one thing, other thing can be you are well prepared and your state is not happening. Like if I remember, it's almost 5 6 years Haryana hasn't happened, and people are from Haryana, and that's their natural choice, and they're still waiting, and they're maybe few of them didn't even attempt another state. So there will be circumstances like these. All I can say is it's heartbreaking, it's demoralizing, but then there are things which are not in your control, and and if you give a lot of time bothering yourself about it, it's only going to hamper you. And I know it's easier said than done, but then you have to prepare yourself for that day. Like you've said that the pandemic has hit us. Of course, we are not like we don't have no papers have happened, and there are very bleak chances that something will happen this year. But then something will definitely happen next year, hopefully. So you have to make use of this time. You have to understand that yes, you are losing onto your time, but then again you will not get this kind of time, because when we were appearing for UP, there were like I think 5 notifications back to back. Like Bihar was there, MP was there, UP was there, so people were very confused. People who were so prepared, like I said, every subject, every state had different subject, and they could not just they could not structure their preparation in a certain way that they could target their states. So you never know, when this pandemic ends, then every paper happens back to back, then you might not even have the time to revise. Like right now you have the luxury of time to give almost a month to a subject. Like if you are not good at a particular subject, you can give 15-20 days. Once the notification is out and you have the pressure of deadlines, that 15th is your paper, and they might not give you enough number of days for mains also. Like in our time also we got 21 days for mains, so you never know, they cut more time. Like 15 days may, if they take your mains, then how will you revise? So this thing is not in your control. What is in your control is to master your club, master your syllabus. So all you can do is keep moving. You have to make sure that acha theek hai, if you've lost one year, if you're losing onto this year, then you prepare yourself in such a good manner that whatever next opportunity comes, you get in at all, at any cost. So just make yourself better at it. Just practice more, and whenever you just feel down, just always remember why you started. And there is something, like if you're still hanging in there, there is a reason you're hanging in there. So remind yourself of that reason. Otherwise you could have taken a job, or you could have done something else with your life. But if you're still there, there is a reason. And if till the time that reason is there, just keep working. That's about it, and things will happen
Wow,
when
ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. That was really, really motivating. We
Thank
all
you.
needed that. Thank you, ma'am. So, ma'am, just to follow the previous question, like every candidate during preparation, we go through different stages of self-doubting, and when we see there's a lot of competition, and how lengthy the whole process is. So, like, what in your views are the ways, or how to deal with such self-doubt and apprehensions, and what should be done about it? Because it's a huge process and we never know when these doubts and apprehensions that
Anmol, I think you're on mute now. Anmol.
Anmol, can we switch off your mic, please? I think she got a network issue.
Yeah. And I did hear the question. Can I answer that?
Yes, ma'am, please go ahead.
Yeah. So Anmol spoke about problems of self-doubt. So if you're getting self-doubt, you're absolutely normal and you're absolutely on the right track. It's because none of us are like born saints, and we should not over expect that from day one we'll all be excited and we'll be all positive about it. But then these feelings are not supposed to stay. So even if you're self-doubting, and it is bound to affect you, like you started your career, you started pursuing, you started preparing, and there are going to be your friends who are going to excel, and and their life is moving ahead. Peer pressure is biggest thing once you're preparing. But then again, as I said, you have to remember that there is a reason you chose this path and you have to stick to it. Secondly, the whole idea is to be very excited about the journey. The enthusiasm does not have to go down, and that is why you should not burn yourself. Like, supposedly there might be students who was like they must be preparing, like studying for 13-14 hours a day, and pandemic has hit us, and now they don't know when the papers will happen. So all this might just burn yourself out. If you cut off your, I will say that maintain a distance. Like if you cut off yourself from everything, people go off from social media, and I'm not saying that social media is a good thing and everything, but you don't have to create that negativity inside you. See, this whole process of competitive examination is about the journey. Once you reach, it's there, but you have to enjoy this journey. You don't have to get bitter about it, because there will be failures, there will be setbacks. People are very sorry, people are very lucky, and they get through things in the first go. You might not qualify mains, you might not qualify interview, and then you have to again reset yourself. So it's a journey, and it's very important that you have to be very positive towards it. So just try and have a balance. Don't lose on to the things you do. Like if you have some hobby, I'm not saying give your entire time to that hobby, but do that. Give some time to yourself, so that whenever you pick that book, like if you're picking an evidence book, you should be excited about it, that yes, today I'm going to learn some evidence. You don't have to pick that book with this huge oh my god, evidence again. Then that creates a burden, and when it creates a burden, the output is not going to come excellent, because the input energy was not right. So you have to work on your energies, and if you feel that you're losing interest and it's not aligning, then change the subject. Try and pick up some life reforming novel, maybe for like 2-3 days. Nobody can shut themselves for years or months and do nothing and then study. You have to, this is a process, and you have to take it as and when. So identify your things. If you like watching movies or series, do them. Do it in a moderated amount, so that it does not get to you. So keep at it. That's what I want to say.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So basically, a balanced approach is the key. So we just can't just, keep on studying and, leave the world aside. So we need to have a little fun also, because the process is long, the fun and concluding everything in a very balanced manner is very important. So, ma'am, like usually after a lot of hard work, a candidate reaches the interview stage, and it is very anxious about how to clear it, because so many years of effort have come to reach the interview stage. So, what, in your opinion, is the best way to ace the interview and to come out with flying colors? Also, how would you suggest? Like, there are certain interviewers who ask very difficult questions, and they, put you in a position at times. So, how to basically deal with such interviewers? Can you please elaborate on that, ma'am?
Yeah. See, once you've reached the interview stage, like I have said before, your knowledge has been tested. They are those 5-6 people who are sitting in that panel. They are not there to test your knowledge. Well, they will see some amount of knowledge, but it's mostly a personality test. They are testing you that whether or not you will be able to handle this position. So keep this in your mind. They might ask you 10 questions and you might answer 7 of them like wrong, but still you can get through. It's not about, because once you're sitting there, nobody expects you to remember everything, that they will not ask any random section of CPC or CRPC that tell me about this section. No. But then, yes, they would want you to have a basic knowledge of law. Like if they're asking you about constitution, about sexual harassment, what amendments have been made in CRPC. These are certain things which a law student is expected to know. Sorry. So it's not, so even, when you say it's a tough interview, what's a tough interview? When they throw questions at you and you're not able to answer them. But how well you handle the situation, and how well you tell them, and you don't get scared, and you convey them that, okay, it's your mistake, and you will read about it. The interview is basically about that. How calm you are, how you can handle the pressure, how you like, even if they are being mean to you, sometimes they do it, sometimes they shout it, not shout, but they say that you don't even know this, how are you sitting in front of me, how do you handle all these things. The interview is a collective test of all of that. So you have to so you have to maintain your balance, and you have to maintain your calm. And that is why I suggested, as and when you qualify some means, you should appear for, like, you should participate in few mock interviews, so that you get an idea that what is it about. And of course, basics of your law subjects will always be important. So you do that, or you just give mock interviews to your teachers or your friends, somebody, so that you exactly know how you are talking. Even this hand movement is important. How you are sitting, how you're drinking water, and what are you doing. So they are analyzing everything. So yeah, they are studying your personality. So that is for the interview. Yes.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So, like, with this, we basically covered everything about the judicial aspect of preparation. So, ma'am, do you have any special strategy or any success mantra or tip that you want to share to our viewers that really worked for you, that you want is really important for us? Can you please share that tip or any note you have for us to our aspirants?
The mantra is, like I said, revision is the key. If you're cracking any paper, please revise it n number of times. And secondly, you have to be very enthusiastic. Like that happiness shouldn't go down. That it should not take a bitter note. That why am I doing this and why not something else? Negativity does not take you anywhere. So be excited in the whole journey. Something better is going to happen. So just hold on. And if you and always remember why you started. There must be reason, and that reason is like peculiar to everybody. They have certain reasons. So sometimes, even if you're getting dejected, always remember why you started. Just keep at it. That's my thing.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. So, ma'am, now that you are at the epitome of where we all are starting, so we really would like to know, like, what your experience has been as a judge so far. Like, what challenges do you face on a day-to-day basis? Can you please, ma'am, enlighten us about that? Because for us who are preparing, it's like a very enlightening thing to know what it's like to be on the top of where you are wanting to be. So, ma'am, please elaborate.
Yeah, so when I started my journey, I was very excited about it. So all this whole process of it and everything, and I think it's 8 months since I've joined, and things have changed. Like, my opinions have changed for good. So it's not only all this, glittery stuff. It's a very huge responsibility. Though I'm very lucky, I'm still under training, and I'm still, when I'm under training, I'm sitting with these senior judges and trying to learn the work and trying to understand what and how the things have to be done. So I'm in that process. But while I'm sitting with them, it does scare me, because while you're preparing, you really don't think about certain things. But then once you know that how your one order can affect so many people, that how one signature of yours can just, just make so many changes. So it's a very bittersweet. I don't know. It's sometimes it's scary, but then it's excited. And again, like I mentioned before, I'm struggling with Hindi. So my biggest nightmare right now is to understand those files which are in Hindi. So I'm doing that. And it's a beautiful experience. Of course, you're humbled, you're filled with gratitude that you worked for something and it has happened, and it's happening and it's true. But then it's going to take a lot of responsibility. And also, sometimes you're sitting with the senior judges and they've briefed you about the matter, and while they have ordered something, you don't know, you are not very sure, you wanted some other order. So one of my senior only said that if you're going to be a good judge, then you have to understand that not every order, you're not going to like your every order. And if you're liking your every order, that means that something is going wrong with you. So, emotions have to take a back seat. You have to analyze better. You can't be partial. So all these things come real, and I'm still in the process. Like I said, I'm under training. So it's a mix of a lot of emotions. Sometimes you question yourself. Sometimes you feel that you can do it, you can't do it. So it's a different story once you get into that, but hopefully it will all be well ahead.
Thank you, ma'am. That was a very, very enlightening experience that you shared with us, because it's like a mixed experience. We, as a human, tend to get emotional at certain issues and matters. So we have to be more partial and more like a unbiased person than an emotional one at times. And it's really hard.
To be unbiased. There's no option.
Yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, I have a question regarding that. There's a myth associated with judge that when you are a judge, you have to compromise on your social life, and you can't go out there. Like, there's a huge stigma attached to it, and nobody knows the answer to it because nobody has. I am prepared. I'm an aspirant, so I haven't reached there. Can you please elaborate on what it is like with respect to social life after you become a judge, and clear the whole stigma around it?
See, Anmol, I would say that, judicial service, it's a service of public trust. So, and, sometimes we are of the opinion that your service is only, like they say, that a judge works from 10 to 5. No, it's not about 10 to 5. I'm not talking only about the court hours. Like, even if the senior judges, like, just question yourself, even all these honorable judges of all these honorable courts of High Court, Supreme Court, even if you like see them, like post say 9 p.m. in the night, and there is some honorable justice is sitting somewhere, their conduct is still important, because again I said it's a service of trust. People are coming to you and people from all societies, from rich to poor, from everywhere. Everyone who approaches the court, they approach the court with a trust that their problems will be solved, and everybody will give their due, which is legally due to them. They will get it. So this whole social stigma, there is nothing like this. You can't meet with people, you can't mix with people. No, there is nothing like that. But then you really have to watch yourself. Like, you can't be what you just you have to respect the service in that matter. That you can't be doing certain things which are not okay with the chair, because when some outsider sees you, even if you're not in the court, they will associate you are what justice is. And I think for every common person, like when we crack judicial services like lower courts, we are the first courts. Like, sometimes people don't even reach Supreme Court, High Court. We are like the first people who know what justice is. And they have so many experiences. So what if they see me doing something not proper outside? So it affects your judgment. It's very human. So there's not a bar that you can't be social, but you have to really keep in mind how you're behaving, how you're conducting, because it's not only about you now. It's about that chair you're sitting in, and it's about that service you're holding. So never let that trust of people break. Otherwise, this whole service goes down. That's what it is.
That's really true, ma'am. That's really true. Because once you become a person, you represent justice, and you have to obviously maintain a code of conduct to make sure that that thing is really
Yes, and Anmol, that's with every service. I think it's only not
yes,
about the judicial profession. I think it's just it's little, the stakes are a little higher because it's a noble profession. And I think what some 2000 years before only, this great philosopher Socrates had said, he had laid down like 4 qualities of a judge. Like, a judge is one, like, who hear courteously, who answers wisely, who considers soberly, and who gives justice unbiasedly. So that is why there are more things attached to the service. Otherwise, even if you are meeting an administrative officer or somebody even from the political background, and if you see something, it will definitely affect your opinion. So the stakes are little 2-3% higher in this. So it's just, and people have to be very clear, like all the aspirants, it's not you, it's the chair and it's the service. That thing is for that. So this whole thing, ki social life will end and everything, it's there. You just have to balance it.
Ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. That was really very enlightening. So now we are starting with the Q&A session, and the house is open for all the questions. So ma'am, now I'm going to start with the questions that have come up from the viewers, and you will be answering that from now on. Shall we start that, ma'am?
Anju?
So ma'am, the first question is from Siddhant. He is asking, how does rank affect your life after becoming a judge for promotion and posting?
Okay. Okay, Siddhant, rank is not important for postings. Like, I can talk about my state. Like in our state, postings happen, like first posting happens depending on your hometown, home districts, and you have to be, they post you like somewhere around 200 kilometers near your home district. So my home district is Sonbhadra, that's a district in UP. So that is how I'm posted in Allahabad. And ranks definitely play a role while you get promoted, because we are a batch, sometimes there's a batch of 100, 150, 610, like our batches of like 610 people. So not the entire batch is promoted at one go. So as and when vacancies are created, so people get promoted, and before us the other batch will get promoted, and then when 2018 batch gets promoted, and that is how it happens. Otherwise rank and all is good, but then everybody, it just gets diluted. It only happens when you're getting promoted. Otherwise the ranks are same, the profession is same, the work is same. It is not that deciding factor. That's this just normal thing.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
So, ma'am, Aditi next has a question that what are your views on the draft of All India Judicial Services examination?
I am waiting for that.
That what are your views on the draft of All India? Ma'am, am I clear?
Yeah. My views on All India Judicial Services.
Yes, ma'am.
I think it's going to be one of the biggest reforms whenever it happens, and I'm eagerly waiting for it to happen, because you see there are three ways to enter judicial services. First, you give these PCSJ examinations; these are state-based examinations, and then secondly, you appear for HGS papers. Those happen a few years later after you have practiced for like 7 years and crossed 35 years of age. Or like thirdly, you get elevated. So you have to find like what criteria you fit in. So I am in a favor. I'm looking forward to this because, like I said, these papers are not very regular. They do suffer. So if, something like All India comes into picture, then there will be more competition, which is going to be very nice. The papers are going to be uniform. We will know exactly when it will happen. So I think it's a wonderful thing, and it should happen very soon.
Thank you, ma'am. So, ma'am, next we have Lokesh and Priyanka's question. They both really want to know that how to basically tackle CPC and evidence, because they find these subjects very difficult and technical to deal with. So, can you please suggest something to them?
See, okay, Lokesh. Like if you are doing coaching, then I think your scene is sorted. But if you're not doing coaching, see because CPC was a tough nut for me as well. So what you can do, like you keep your bare act and you keep Takwani. Read it. That's what I say. You have a luxury of time right now. Just try and read. Like I said, like let things flow like a story. Like first what it will say. First they will establish the courts. They will talk about the kind of courts. Then they will talk about the jurisdiction. Then they will talk about certain things. So once you read it through chapters, and once you are reading your Takwani as well, it's written very beautifully. And that's why I said CPC has a lot of orders also. But most of the orders are associated with the section. So like if you're reading commission, then you are reading order 26. And if you're reading execution, you are reading order 21. So treat every part as a chapter, give yourself time, divide it, and then read it. And see, and if you're not understanding something, even after reading Takwani, then try and, we have this whole good thing called Google it, try and read case laws, and give it more time, and it will happen. And when you talk about evidence also, if you're not understanding by the bare act, because evidence is also, it's a very small bare act, but it has a lot of connection. There are a lot of important cases. And so there is this good book called Batuklal. So you can read Batuklal, you can read, and the best way of understanding evidence for me was to read the cases, see how the interpretation of judgments have been, how cases have been interpreted, and what all sections have been applied. And there will, again, I will say, there is this whole thing. First, they will talk about this whole, say, res dische thing. Then they will have character. Then they will have admission, confession. So make a thread. Try and read it in parts. Whatever you don't understand, try and read the judgments. Make your own notes. Slow, and you can never get things right in first go. So give it 2 reading, 3 reading, and eventually you will get through. I'm sure.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So up next, ma'am, we have caller who wants to know what types of preparation and training a judicial magistrate has to go through before giving a judgment over a case. Can you please elaborate on that, ma'am?
On the training procedure.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. Preparation and trainings.
See, once we get through, so see, again, every state has their own pattern. I can talk about UP. So once we got through, we got our postings, we joined. So we had this whole list prepared where we had 111 working days in field training. Field training means that our days were distributed from like a civil judge till ADJ till district judge sir. We have our times allocated and we sit with them as and when, and we see how they conduct their court, how they tackle their cases, and then there's a convict. So that's a field training. And then we have 4 months of academy training. And basically in academy, they tell you what all, see, all of us have read the same laws, temporary injunction, etc., etc. So then they start in academy, they train us about the practical aspects of it, like if this situation comes, if that situation comes, and if some file is there, how do you have to see the documents and everything, what you have to see as a magistrate or a civil judge, depending on your side, that if this is complete, that is incomplete, how to make the summon procedure. So they tell us that. And then while we sit with our seniors, then they tell us all the practical situations which happen in front of them, and they give us all the tips. So that is how we prepare ourselves, and I'm still undergoing that process. So that's the training procedure.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. So up next we have Tuba who wants to know how can we ace the art of writing our answers. Can you please suggest some strategies you use during your preparation for answer writing?
See, again, there is never a set pattern of answer writing. Like I have had discussion with all my peer group also. People have written different kind of answers. Like I was the one who had used a lot of flowcharts and sayings and quotations. My answers were filled with that. But then you will meet people who had very organized answers. Like if that was this is the meaning, this is the case law, this is the example. So it really depends what are you comfortable with and what style suits you the best. But again, I would say that you need to know what is asked, and you have to understand the kind of weightage that answer holds. See, again, like it's a 10-marker question, then you don't have to write 5 pages. Like 1 page is enough. So you have to practice according to this way, that what in how many marks what you have to answer, and accordingly divide your thing. And if you're not very confident about your answer writing skills, then do enroll in some coachings or get in touch with few selected candidates or some of your seniors who can check your answers and give you your feedbacks, and they can tell you the proper structuring of it.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So, ma'am, this is the last question we're gonna take. So, we're gonna basically combine the questions of 2 or 3 people and ask us to you. So, ma'am, Mimansha and Anuranjan wants to ask that firstly, like there are so many case laws in different course books. So how important are case laws in our preparation? Then there is a question regarding the notes. So like what is the proper way of preparing a note? Can you please elaborate like shortly upon that? And lastly, ma'am, if like you are from different state, does it affects your selection in the other state?
Okay. So first, I'll come on the case laws part. Case laws are important because whatever you read and whatever commentary you read is one thing, but how and when the law has evolved how and when honorable judges have interpreted it and given it different meanings, it is important to read those. Like I think in our career as law students, also in our tenure as law students, also all of us know few landmark judgments, and I know it's not possible to read every judgment, but if you could divide your time, if you could allocate yourself certain things ki acha, these are certain judgments I will read. Like in recent times, I will read Sabrimala, I will read Puttaswamy. You will just know the thought procedure, and they are very well written judgments, and it will only help you while you're writing your answers. You will know the reasons of it, you will know how it has been evolved. So of course, case laws are important, and while you will forget everything, so you can have a separate like note making. If you're reading a constitutional case, not everything is important. See, few cases you read the entire case, but whatever you're reading, even if you're reading the gist of it, just write it, so that in five lines or in 10 lines whatsoever, just summarize it and write it, so that when the examinations are near, you only have to take out that page and you can just revise it. So case laws are very important, and especially when you are aspiring to be in Delhi is all about cases, recent cases, landmark cases. They combine them, make their questions, and that is how they ask their questions and means. Secondly, sorry, and more, what was the question?
So, ma'am,
Note,
the next question
note.
was about note making. Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
See, if you like just starting your preparation, first, I don't think so. Like first time you should make notes. Like first reading. First reading is about understanding the subject. First reading is about getting the hang of the subject and understanding what is it about. The note making starts later. And like what I did, like I said before also, my notes were different. Like for pre, it was different, because for pre I had this whole thing where I had written like IPC. I had said the entire IPC was in few A4 size papers. Then if I had to revise CRPC, then I had divided in chapter wise, and I used to write it on A4 size papers only because it was easy to carry, and your centers and your centers are not in your cities, so I can just carry them and revise them. And when it came to mains, I had this whole topic, like, see, if this is temporary injunctions topic, then I was just write bullet points, because I had already revised it so many times. So my jo like you start from like a very consolidated notes. Like I had my coaching notes. So if you, even if you don't have your coaching notes, so you make those consolidated notes, as and when you're revising, you are just making them more short. So by the time you're going for your mains examination and one day before examination, all you have to see is a temporary injunction. If they asked a question, I will write an introduction, I will write this case law, I will write this example, depending what marker. So everything was on paper like that, so that it is easier for me to just just flip through and know. And if there were some important cases, I used to write that case name, so that if I see that case, it just comes back what all was written in it. So as and when, it's a process. First bigger notes, then smaller, then smaller, then smaller. So that's what I said, no? A month before the exam, 10 days before the exam, one day before the exam. So my notes were like that. They were like that, segregated.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. With this, we end our session. So, ma'am, I would really like to thank you on behalf of Curious for Law for your time and patience. You have basically shared everything from your law school to you becoming a judge and your life after judge. And this whole experience has been very, very enlightening and very useful for us all. So, ma'am, thank you so much for your time and patience. And it was really, really very nice to have you here with us for the session today. So, thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Anmol, for giving me this opportunity. I had so much of fun. I hope I helped people.
We had so much fun interacting with you. This was really enlightening for someone who's myself preparing for the exam. I really got to know very important things from you. And now, all of us who are preparing for exam, we're going to start with the new perspective that is given by you. And thank you, ma'am, for sharing and giving us a new light in the time when we are lost and when we are searching for some motivation. So, thank you, ma'am. This was really very enlightening.
Pleasure is all.
And I really apologize all those whose questions couldn't be asked because of lack of time. Uh, and uh, and also there's a reminder that the e-certificates are shared in the chat box. Can you please look in the chat box and take your certificates from there? So, and ma'am, I'm really sorry because of technical issues. There were some problems, so I apologize. This was a very good session, and thank you, ma'am, for joining us.
Thank you so much, Anmol. Thank you.
We spent a really warm thank you on behalf of Curious for Law. Thanks, ma'am, for your time and patience. Okay, ma'am. Have a great day, ma'am.
Same to you. Be safe.
Thank you. Same to you, ma'am. So I thank all our viewers for joining us for this session. I hope you all gained some perspective and really enlightening session from ma'am. So thank you, everyone. And so we're going to end the session now. So everyone be safe, have a great time, and have a good time preparing for the exams with the new perspective that ma'am gave. So thank you, everyone.